Hi guys, Zach here from Home Life Green Team Realty here in Sudbury, and today we'll be looking at debt service coverage ratio. I always get those mixed up. DSCR for short, as you can see I've written up here. So what is DSCR and how do you calculate it? Now DSCR, if you're new to real estate investing or you're just getting interested in it, you might have never heard of this, and even long-term people might have never heard of this. It mostly affects lenders. But why should you care about it? You should care about it because it's a way to analyze real estate properties that shows you how attractive something might look for a lender. Because from their perspective, all they care about is security. What's the guarantee that they're going to get paid? So why does DSCR show you that? Let's do a quick calculation. So here I've got an example property. It's listed for $479,900. It's a duplex. The total debt service, meaning the principal and the interest, is $21,595.50 per year. The total operating expenses, so everything except for financing, things like water, heat, and electricity, and taxes, is $7,662 per year. So that's pretty good. That's quite low. As far as square footage, it's 2,212 square feet. We're not going to need square footage to calculate DSCR, but just to give you an idea of the property. And it grosses, meaning that all the rents added up over the year add up to $31,000 per year. So how would you calculate the debt service coverage ratio? Let's do it first, and then we'll talk more about what it is. So the formula for DSCR, looks like my marker's petering out here. DSCR, all it is money left over after you pay your operating expenses, right? So this could also be expressed as NOI up here, gross rent minus total operating expenses. If we had done NOI here, it would be right there, and that would be divided by, that would be over our total debt service. In this case, 21,595.5. Okay? So I didn't write NOI, that's my mistake. So the gross would be 31,000, let's do the calculation, minus 7,662, and that's 23,338. 338 over 21,595.5. So right away you can tell this top part is bigger than the top part. So the ratio is going to be above 1. And I've already calculated it out. It's 1.081. So what does that mean? In short, basically what this means is that at the end of the year, if you're doing things yearly, usually it's monthly, but if we're talking on the whole, you might lose some months, win some months in this case. On the whole, you're going to come out with almost 10% of your money left over after the bank takes their cut. So why would the bank care about that? Well, for instance, if this ratio was 0.6 instead of 1, what would that mean? It means the property is sucking up money more than it's putting out after you pay for expenses and after you pay for financing. So why would a bank care about that? Well, it's just more of a liability. It raises the risk, R words with 4 letters. It raises the risk of the property that you might not be able to pay back the way that you said you would, because you're going to have to be putting in your own money every month, and that's not favorable from a lender's standpoint. What about something like 1.75? See, this is much better than 0.6 because you've got, 75% additional, or a ratio of 0.75 left over after you pay your debt service. So this is really, really good. This is actually abnormally high. But just to give you an extreme example, the bank would be like, oh, this thing is cash flowing like crazy, meaning you're always going to be able to pay your debts even if you have a bad month. So what's kind of the low end? The low end that a bank, for instance, will accept, private lenders is going to be different, But the low end that a bank will accept is something like 0.75 on the low end. And it could be pushed up as high as, 1.4, something like that. And that would be really good. They would love to see something like that because you have lots of money left over after everything's said and done. And you've probably done these calculations, how much cash is going to be left over. Because this looks very similar to a cash flow analysis or a cash on cash return, very similar. But from a bank's perspective, something with a higher ratio is better, meaning a higher net operating income and a lower debt service. So before we move on to the second example, if, for instance, you came out with an unfavorable DSCR, what could you do about it? Well, you could pay a lower interest rate. A lower interest rate would lower the debt service, right? Because the interest rate would be lower. The amount you have to pay just to own the money would be lower. You don't always have control over that. So what do you have control over? Your down payment, you have control over. You could pay more as a down payment. So there's less money to be financed. And the less money there is to be financed, the less you're going to having to pay in total debt service. Hopefully that is an extreme, explanation, more than you ever had to know. Let's do a second example here. So again, we're going to need to calculate the NOI because DSCR is NOI over total debt service. And I write TDS, but you can easily write principal plus interest. I just find this looks a lot cleaner. So let's calculate the NOI and let's get this one going. So the gross, 18,000. And the total operating expenses, 5,500. 1,250. 12,500, sorry. Net operating income, 12,000 per year. Total debt service, 13,486.5. So what does that come to? 0.927. Again, just on paper, which one of these looks better? Obviously the one with the higher DSCR looks better. Again, you can affect that in a multitude of ways. In this example, I've financed 75%. If you finance 50%, DSCR will be better. Thanks for watching, guys.